Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, the Los Angeles Lakers, yes, those purple and gold colors have not qualified for the play-in tournament. So that means that they will not be in this year's 2021-2022 NBA playoffs. Now, within this 4-year stint with LeBron James, this will be his second time in purple and gold where he isn't going to be one of the top 8 seeds. So to give you some context, these guys were 31-48. I think there's still about 3 games, maybe 4 games to go as well. But the other night when they played, basically they had to not only beat Phoenix, but they had to let the Spurs lose. And without DeJounte Murray, the Spurs still beat the Denver Nuggets with pretty much the roster that they had intact the entire season. Obviously, Jamal Murray's down, and Michael Porter Jr. has been down as well too. LeBron James didn't play, had an ankle injury, but he was sure as hell stunting on the floor, sitting by his teammates and whatnot as well too. But yeah, man, it's over. It's definitely over. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, if you would have told me, when they acquired everybody and built their roster out, when training camp started, when they had NBA availability week or media day or whatever, I was like, all right, with all these Hall of Fame players, you got Dwight, you got Melo, you got LeBron, you got AD, you got Westbrook. You guys will be somewhere between 1 to 8. Like there's no reason why you guys won't be 1 to 8 as well too. And it's crazy because before the season even started, when they acquired that roster, all the media outlets, all these analysts had the Lakers being finals favorites. And it's crazy how you go from finals favorites to 11th in the Western Conference as well too. But I mean, so many things went wrong. And in my opinion, I would say the first thing is availability. They always say that the best ability is availability. So there's only been about 79 games played in this regular season for the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James, obviously we know he's had a bummy ankle. He's had knee problems. I mean, he's 37 years old, turning 38 towards the end of the year this year. 18, 19, I can't even keep track anymore. He only played 56 out of 79 games. Anthony Street Clothes Davis can't seem to stay healthy as well too. Played 40 out of 79 games. So the only constant was Russell Westbrook. And obviously Russell Westbrook, out of 79 games to be available for, he played 78 games. So that lets you know that he is the true Iron Man as well too. But there's so many things that went wrong, right? Like I said, the first thing I would have to point to is availability. The second thing I would have to point to is accountability as well too. And I just feel like as a leader with Anthony Davis, with LeBron James, you have to take all of the responsibility. You have to bite the bullet every single time. You have to be able to galvanize your troops to play and compete on a nightly basis as well too. And obviously LeBron James is chasing that scoring record. Obviously LeBron James' body of work speaks for itself. But one thing that we kind of loved about LeBron James was how basically he can work with less talent, right? The East is the top of the food chain right now. The West obviously used to be. There's still some good West teams as well, but the West isn't as strong as it used to be. And you think LeBron James would find a way to build that right chemistry with these players and have them playing inspiring basketball, knowing that he's on the tail end of his career, knowing that Russell Westbrook, knowing that Carmelo, knowing that Dwight are all on the tail end of the career, but they just couldn't work that out as well too. Another thing I would have to say is probably the pairing of the big three. LeBron James, historically speaking, if you look at his success in Cleveland the first go around, if you look at his success in Miami, if you look at his success back on the Lakers when they won the championship, when they went to the playoffs last year, he always had spacing around him, right? Always had spacing. Never really had a traditional big, but always had spacing. And I just feel like I mean, you can put an asterisk on Dwayne Wade, but Dwayne Wade was a smart player. Dwayne Wade was an efficient player. Dwayne Wade was a clutch player. Dwayne Wade knew how to pick and choose spots, and Dwayne Wade knew how to make free throws as well too. And they staggered their minutes as well too. And I feel like obviously Anthony Davis and LeBron James, we considered them the best duo a couple seasons ago, but that wasn't the issue. I felt like Westbrook coming into the fold. I mean, he's been a journeyman in a sense as well too. I mean, before this was the Wizards, before this was Houston, and obviously he had about 10 plus years in OKC as well too. So these last couple seasons, he's been on 3 different teams in 3 different years. So that must be kind of hard buying into that system and kind of figuring out what your role is as well too, because he's the type of guy who is used to having the basketball in his hands, right? And I feel like this year with LeBron, he has to have the ball in his hands for him to be fully functional. And the fact that Westbrook can't shoot, that was basically a telltale sign of how the season was going to go. It seems like Frank Vogel didn't necessarily give him a role, but there's a lot of things that he can work on as well too. I mean, just watching, tape, just being better at decision making and being willing to play more of ball. Now, we did talk about this last week when we dropped a couple of topics on the page. We did say that he has been playing a little bit better as well too, but it just kind of sucks that we didn't get to see him play better throughout the entirety of the season as well too. Another thing I'm going to point to is coaching. I mean, this kind of goes hand in hand with your GM, with the personnel, right? You're only kind of as good as the pieces around you, but that's still not an excuse. You got Coach Pop, who, like I said, didn't have Murray for a couple games. He doesn't even have a superstar. You got these other coaches who are fighting their ass off. They're galvanizing their troops. They're playing some winning, inspiring basketball, or at least competitive basketball with no stars at all as well too. So Frank Vogel, I wish he did a better job. The rotations he utilized weren't necessarily the best, and he didn't really define these roles, especially with Russell Westbrook as well too. So that just kind of sucks that the season was a failure. We thought that, there's a couple people in the sports reality who we don't bet against. Obviously, Michael Jordan, Thomas Edward Brady, Patrick, whatever Skip Bayless calls him. And another one of those guys is LeBron James. And I kind of knew, I really, really, really kind of knew when I watched them play the Pelicans on national television, and it was a back and forth game at one point in time this past Friday. And I think LeBron James may have gotten hit. Instead of him getting back on defense, he literally stayed on the opposite end of the floor while both teams are on the other end of the floor and is complaining also with the ref as well too. And I was like, this isn't the LeBron James I know, especially when you're trying to go to the play-in and give yourself a shot. Knowing what we know about him, I just felt like at that point in time, he just threw the towel in and he was just like, all right, well, I mean, the chances of us actually winning these games are very slim to none. My ankle isn't necessarily the best. AD, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with him. So like, I've done all I can. I mean, I'm on pace to be the leading scorer. I just need more talent around me. And that's my other thing as well too. The talent around the Los Angeles Lakers. We've seen with these teams that are in the playoffs, these teams that make these deep runs, you have to have health on your side. You have to have 1 or 2 stars on your side. You have to have good role players and a good mesh of young talent mixed with veterans as well too. But my question for you is, I mean, what do you think, in your opinion, went wrong with the Lakers? And I guess moving forward, going into the off season, what can they actually do?
Well, first of all, they tried to go Showtime, but they only tried to go Showtime with having names. But that was their first issue. You get Russell Westbrook thinking, okay, let's be real. The Westbrook pickup would have been nice, and I'm about to get into why. That could have been nice, right?
Yeah.
You get Melo, you get like Malik Monk, you get I think they get Dwight Howard back. You get Kendrick Nunn. Get names of guys that can get it done, that have gotten it done in this league, but none of them mesh together. And the reason it doesn't mesh together is, yeah, as I said, I was going to get into Russell Westbrook. You get him. What you need for him is a big that can remain healthy, a big that knows his role, set screens, roll to the basket, pay attention. I'm going to pass you the rock, or I'm going to get an easy layup. That's Russell Westbrook's game for his big, for his 3-and-D stars or role players. I need you to be athletic, and I need you to be wide. I need you to be open and moving, making cuts. Same thing with LeBron James. I need Kyle Kuzma's. I need J.R. Smith's. I need you to be athletic. I need you to know, hey, I'm going to beam the ball at you, catch it, shoot it. I need you to be efficient, consistency, and I need you to be athletic, guys that are cut to the ball, guys that are set a screen, get the fuck out the way. And for like our guards that are like your shooting guard or your backup point guard, I need a combo guard. What Russell Westbrook has had is, you had James Harden right beside you. You had Victor Oladipo at times. You had Jeremy Lamb, stuff like that. You had guys that are coming off the bench for you that are combo guards, that while you're going to attack the basket, when my bench player comes in the game, I'm going to be able to score from all three levels, or not at like a star level of it, but I'm going to be able to score on all three levels, as in I can shoot the rock. I can come in with Westbrook and be a two guard instead of like, I need the ball in my hands like a Malik Monk. And another thing that they've all had, or no, another thing that LeBron has had is defense. They were ass on defense this entire season. 26 in the opponent's points per game is nasty. I watched the last game versus the Suns, bro, fam. Look, there was a play. There was a play. I don't know. I think the lineup, they had no big on the floor, and it was a pick and roll, boom, get to the basket, easy ass layup, wide ass open. And I'm sitting there like, I'm seeing like a Carmelo Anthony in the paint. You put hands up, and then you watch for the rebound, and then you pass it out to go back on offense. Where's your defense? There's no defense. Coach, like you just said, Frank Vogel was putting out lineups that looked stupid. No one's putting out the lineups. You put out a lineup against the Suns with no big and Aiden's in the game, bro, I'm firing you on site. What are you doing? What are you talking about? Carmelo Anthony is your 3-and-D player. You put him out there with like a Malik Monk, Russell Westbrook, Austin Reeves, and then Stanley Johnson. Like, oh, we got Stanley Johnson in there, put him on the best player. All right, but they have other 4 players, bro. Put somebody else in that's going to play defense. Anthony Davis is your best defensive player on that team, but he's not healthy. So where are you going to go for defense? What, Austin Reeves? No one brings it up. He's not entirely the best a good defensive player. He's scrappy, hustles. He can be great down the line as a role player, yes. Stanley Johnson, he's a good defensive player. He's not somebody like the Heat would just pick him up because he's the best defense. He's one of the best defensive players on their team, at least top 5. Outside of like Anthony Davis and Johnson, they had no defense all year, bad lineups. LeBron needed the players that he's had for the last couple seasons. If you wanted to go Showtime, then yes, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis would have been great if you had the personnel that matched the way they like to play. Anthony Davis doesn't have a player type that he likes to play around. All you need to do is have a guy like LeBron or Russell Westbrook that can get him the ball in his spots. And it's easy. Anthony Davis has plenty of spots. The dumbest spots that he takes is those dumbass 3-pointers during the season when you get healthy, bro. Get down in the post. No one's scared of the Lakers if Anthony Davis is on the 3-point line. When you come back, you're scared to go to the post. You're not going to do anything. We're not going to crowd the paint, which creates mismatches and threes if you're going to stand out there and you're the only big that's a threat. Dwight Howard's not a threat anymore, bro. So, I mean, they set themselves up the whole year. I didn't mention Kendrick Nunn out for the entire season.
Stealing money,
but you can't really blame him. I mean, he got injured. You can't go do anything about that. Anthony Davis, we'll get into it. We'll get into it.